So breaking up is hard. Reconciling, that's even harder. When you're trying to mend a broken relationship, it can feel like you're facing an impossible task, especially when your ex is skeptical of your every move. But by understanding the 5 stages of relationship reconciliation, you can anticipate what to expect, and you can demonstrate your commitment to change, and ultimately prove that your transformation is genuine. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 stages of relationship reconciliation, what to expect, and the one major roadblock that you need to be aware of in order to overcome it. So reconciliation is a journey. It's not a destination. And like any journey, it has its ups and its downs, its twists and its turns. But if you're willing to put in the right work, the rewards are immeasurable. You know, rebuilding trust, rekindling love, and creating a stronger, more resilient bond, these are the outcomes that come to those who do things in the right way. But in trying to reconcile, most people stumble blindly, making huge mistakes that push their ex further and further away. They get frustrated, they give up, they ultimately leave behind a relationship that has the potential to thrive. But it doesn't have to be that way. By understanding the psychology of reconciliation, you can navigate these stages with a lot of grace, a lot of skill, and demonstrate your growth and commitment at every turn. So let's take a brief look at the roadmap that all reconciliation follows. Stage 1 is skepticism. Stage 2 is curiosity. Stage 3 is observation. Stage 4 is testing the water, and stage 5 is conditionally unconditional. Let's talk about stage 1 of relationship reconciliation, skepticism. This is the rocky start. This is the first few months where there's a lot of doubt and mistrust. But this is completely normal for your ex to be rejecting you and questioning your every move during this time. And the reason why is because of 2 words, expectancy bias. So expectancy bias is a psychological phenomenon where our past experiences shape our perceptions of the present. So in other words, if your ex has been hurt before, they're going to expect to be hurt again. They'll be looking for signs that you're not being sincere, that your efforts are just manipulative attempts to win them back. So before we break down all of these stages, it's really crucial to understand this bias, as this bias is our main enemy. So expectancy bias is the tendency for people to perceive and interpret events in ways that align with their own pre-existing expectations and beliefs. And this plays a crucial role in how our partners perceive our efforts. And because of this, people tend to see what they expect to see based on their own experiences and beliefs. So if your partner has been repeatedly disappointed or hurt by you in the relationship, then they are likely to expect future disappointments or manipulations, even when genuine efforts are made. And this selective perception reinforces their own beliefs, and it makes it really, really hard for them to change their mind. But just because it's hard, it doesn't mean that it's impossible. But because of this, this can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if your partner expects you to fail or to be untrustworthy, they may unconsciously behave in ways that provoke their expected response, which further entrenches their beliefs. So for example, they can subconsciously create situations that have provoked big reactions in the past. It's almost like a subconscious test. They're not consciously testing you, but they can create situations that normally would have provoked a big challenge before. So if you think about it like this, if you've been burned by a hot stove, you're going to be pretty darn cautious around stoves in the future, whether it's hot or not. So even if someone tells you, no, this stove is different, it won't hurt you, you're still going to approach it with huge amounts of skepticism. And that's expectancy bias in action. So what does this mean to you if you're trying to reconcile? Well, it means that you've got to be really patient. You've got to be strong in your changes. You've got to understand that your ex's doubt isn't about you. It's about their past experience. And the only way to overcome that bias is through consistent, genuine behavior over time. And this expectancy bias, especially during the first stage, is running rampant. So you can't just say, I've changed, trust me, and expect your ex to blindly believe you. You've got to show them through your actions, and you've got to do it consistently, even when it's tough, even when you're not getting the response that you want. You know, as the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. And in stage 1 of reconciliation, the skepticism stage, your actions are everything. This is the most crucial time to be reliable, to be honest, and to be patient. It's the time to show up day after day and demonstrate that you're in it for the long haul. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, stage 1 is tough. But if you stay the course and you keep showing up with consistency and genuineness, then you'll start to see progress. Slowly, your ex's skepticism will begin to soften, and you can start to move into stage 2, which is the curiosity stage. And just before we jump in, if you do want more videos like this, then feel free to subscribe to the channel for new videos every single week. As you continue to show consistent efforts, your partner will start to notice, and this will start to spark a sense of curiosity. They'll observe your actions, but from a distance. So they're intrigued, but they're still unconvinced. And this is where the expectancy bias, it starts to wane a little bit, but it's still present as they cautiously watch your progress. And this stage is where things start to shift. Because your ex is intrigued by the changes that they're seeing with you, but they're still keeping their emotional distance. And they'll watch on, wondering whether what you're doing is real or whether it's fake. And they're going to flip between hope and caution. So one of the key points of the stage is that they're going to be glad to see that you're making the effort, but they're still going to remain emotionally distant and closed off to you. So there's going to be slightly less suspicion, but they're still going to question the longevity of your changes. And this is why demonstrating a sustained effort in therapy or coaching or whatever self-improvement you're doing is really, really crucial. So during the curiosity stage, they're intrigued, perhaps even a little bit impressed, but they're not ready to let their guard down. As you continue to demonstrate positive behaviors and genuine growth, your ex's curiosity will intensify. They may start to ask questions or even engage in tentative interactions. But don't kid yourself right now. This isn't a green light to rush back into intimacy. Your ex is still processing, still evaluating, and still protecting their emotional well-being after a long period of hurt. And as you move into stage 3, which is the observation phase, the changes in your behavior become a lot harder to ignore. Your ex is seeing strong evidence of your commitment to personal growth, and maybe they're finally watching you closely. At this stage, this is where they're seeing improved communication, emotional maturity, and a consistent effort to be a better partner. These are the things that start to chip away at the emotional barrier that they've put up. But building trust takes time. It takes time to rebuild, and your ex is still likely grappling with all of the ghosts of past hurts. So what are the key indicators that you're making progress in the observation phase? Well, look for signs that your ex is carefully observing your behavior and maybe even comparing your current actions to past mistakes, pointing out that maybe in this current situation, your old self would act differently. But it's important to understand that during this time, your partner may hold you to a different standard to other people. So for example, they may be talking with other people, friends, family, even potential partners, and accepting their flaws, the arguments, and forgiving them, but still criticizing you for the things that you do and that you have done. You know, at this stage, your partner may be experiencing much lower quality interactions with other people while still writing you about the way that you act and still holding you to an extremely high standard. And, you know, this can feel really unfair to be held to a higher standard than other people. But remember, your partner is still working through the past hurt and the past pain from the relationship. They still have this expectancy bias. So they will need to see a much higher standard and a consistent evidence before that they can reinvest themselves emotionally. The bar was very low before, but you didn't quite clear it. So now they need to see a significant change before they're willing to risk going through all of that again. So there may be moments of emotional turbulence during this time as they process these changes. But through it all, your consistent positive actions are the anchors that keep the reconciliation process on track. So after the skepticism has softened and the curiosity has grown, and now that your partner is actively observing, stage 4 is where your partner will start to feel comfortable enough to test the water. Here is where your partner's logical mind begins to accept the reality of your changes. They've seen the consistency, they've seen the effort, the genuine growth, and on a rational level, they believe that you have turned over a new leaf. Emotions are a complex thing. So although your partner's mind acknowledges your progress, their emotions may still hold back. So they're likely to dip a toe into the water of trust, test the temperature, but they're not quite ready to dive in right now. So this is where usually you've started to build some emotional safety, but before that, you've actually been building this, what we call intellectual intimacy. So this is where they have built a respect for your process of growth and development, but the emotional component isn't quite fully healed yet. And if you're wondering where to start in rebuilding your relationship, then all of these skills are the tools that I work on with my Ultra Normal members. And if you do want to join us, then sign up for the free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the tools and skills to turn your relationship around. Click on the link in the description to get started today. So these past hurts and these old scars is still something that stings to them. And this is where your partner may say, look, I see your changes. I see you've made changes and I respect that, but I'm not going to come back to you. And this can be a really frustrating stage because you're hearing from your partner, I believe you, I trust you that you have changed and this is the new you. However, I'm still not going to come back to you. And this stage is most crucial because at this stage, if you fall apart, if you revert back to your old self because your partner refuses to come back to you, this is where your partner will see that your changes were never real. That your changes were just something to manipulate them back into a relationship. Because subconsciously, your partner knows that if you have changed, then you will still continue to change even though there's no hope of reconciliation. And that paradoxically will prove to them that you have changed and will help them remove that final bit of emotional component where they can finally feel safe with your changes. So this is why continuous positive behavior is crucial to building emotional safety. It's not enough to have changed. You must continue to live and breathe that change day in, day out. Every small interaction and every moment of vulnerability is a way for your partner to slowly build that final component of emotional safety. And as you nurture this emotional safety, you begin to transition into stage 5, which is conditionally unconditional. And this is a major milestone in the reconciliation journey. But let me be clear, this is not the finish line. This is just the start. So here your partner emotionally believes in your changes. They're ready to reinvest, they're ready to commit, and they're ready to open their heart again. But there's a caveat, and it's a crucial one. This commitment is conditional on the sustained presence of your positive changes. This is like a plant. It requires constant nurturing to keep bearing fruit. So if you revert to old patterns, if you falter in your growth, that plant is going to wilt. So throughout this journey, expectancy bias has been a constant threat. And this is why it's so crucial to make genuine changes. So this is where your partner is saying to you, I will continue to invest in this if you continue to invest in growing and changing and not reverting back to your old ways. Some people can see this as unfair. And this is where they do revert back to their old changes, because they start to think, well, you should just love me no matter what. But at the end of the day, you can't expect to behave in whatever way you want and have your partner still invest in your relationship, because there are certain behaviors that you wouldn't accept from your partner. So it's a double standard if you expect your partner to be unconditional, whereas you yourself have conditions. So this is why it's so important to make sure that you are investing in yourself and you're investing in a lifestyle change rather than just a temporary change in order to get your partner back into your life. And of course, as you're reconciling, it can feel very one-sided. It can feel like there's this idea of it takes two to tango. There's only so much that I can do by myself. However, that is not the case. And if you do want a deeper dive into how to turn your relationship around by yourself, then I will leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.